Well, let's get into the banking sector, where Namibia's central bank lowered its repo rate for the second time today as the financial regulator targets strong economic growth. Here is the governor of the bank speaking to the 25-point rate cut to 7.25%, the same size that was delivered back in August.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Namibia decided to lower the repo rate, the rate through which we steer the monetary policy stance, by 25 basis points to 7.25%. This decision was made following a comprehensive review of current and expected domestic, regional, and global economic developments. Based on our assessment, we deem it appropriate to moderate the degree of monetary policy restriction. Let's consider what has happened in the domestic economy that informed this decision. Domestic economic activity rose during the first 8 months of 2024, although growth slowed on a quarterly and a yearly basis during the second quarter of 2024. Inflation receded notably, and the projected medium-term inflation path has been revised downwards. Growth in the private sector credit extension, PSC, remained subdued. The merchandise trade deficit widened further, while the stock of international reserves continued to be sufficient to preserve the currency peg and meet the country's international financial obligations. Domestic economic activity rose during the first 8 months of 2024 relative to the same period in 2023. The recovery was broad-based, with notable increases in the mining, electricity generation, wholesale and retail trade, tourism, financial services, communication, and transport sectors, as well as the livestock marketing subsector. The pace of expansion nevertheless lost momentum. In this regard, the Namibian economy recorded a slower growth rate of 3.5% during the second quarter of 2024, compared to 4.3% and 3.6% in the preceding quarter and the corresponding quarter of 23, respectively. Looking ahead, growth is projected to moderate to 3.1% in 2024 and 3.9% in 2025, compared to a firmer pace of 4.2% recorded in 2023. The anticipated slowdown is primarily attributed to the weakening primary industry, partly reflecting the prevailing drought conditions and sluggish global demand. Risks to the domestic economic outlook stemming from external factors have intensified, while those from domestic factors remain broadly unchanged since the last MPC meeting. External risks include the escalation of geopolitical tensions, especially in the Middle East, geoeconomic fragmentation, and weaker global demand. Internally, drought conditions and water supply interruptions, particularly the coastal towns, continue to pose risk. The domestic disinflation cycle continued year to date. Inflation averaged 4.6% in the first 9 months of 2024, compared to 6% recorded during the same period in 2023. The decrease in inflation was essentially driven by lower average food inflation, of communication, and most recently, transport inflation also playing a role. Since the previous MPC meeting, inflation has surprised to the downside, falling from 4.6% in July 2024 to 3.4%